If you're looking at a P&L statement for like a consumer-facing business right now, you are probably staring at a massive structural failure in your unit economics.
Oh, absolutely. It's pretty grim.
Right. I mean, e-commerce businesses are currently abandoning something like 70% of their digital carts,
Yeah.
while at the exact same time, they're just burning cash-paying call centers like $4.58 every single time a customer calls to ask a really basic question.
Yeah, simple where's my order type thing.
Exactly. So getting a customer to walk through your digital front door is incredibly hard to begin with, but serving them effectively once they're actually inside,
Hmm.
that's just becoming cripplingly expensive.
It really is. I mean, it's the great paradox of our current digital maturity, you know? We've spent the last decade hyper-optimizing the storefront with targeted ads, seamless UI, all that stuff. But the back office infrastructure that actually supports that storefront is just fundamentally bleeding.
Bleeding cash.
Right. The traditional models of customer engagement, they simply don't scale linearly without totally destroying your profit margins.
Which brings us to the massive stack of research we're diving into today.
Yeah.
So welcome back to the deep dive. Our focus today is a very specific technology called Askable, which is developed by Gentic AI.
Yeah, really fascinating stuff in these sources.
It is. And the goal of this deep dive is to unpack how a very specific breed of what they call agentic voice AI is basically flipping this entire equation for you. We want to understand the underlying mechanics of how this tech takes those bloated, high-volume cost centers we just mentioned and transforms them into basically 24/7 revenue engines.
Yeah, and to really grasp the magnitude of this shift, we need to draw a hard line between like traditional generative AI and what makes a system truly agentic. Because when you hear voice AI, your brain probably defaults to those clunky traditional phone trees.
Oh, the absolute worst.
Yeah, or those early generation text chatbots that try to recognize three keywords and then inevitably just send you a link to a totally useless FAQ page.
The ones where you find yourself like practically screaming representative into your phone while you're driving.
Exactly. We've all been there. Those systems are entirely reactive, and more importantly, they are rigid state machines. They just follow a predetermined decision tree. Agentic AI, on the other hand, means the system actually possesses the cognitive architecture to execute autonomous workflows.
So it's not just a script.
Right. It takes actions within defined parameters. It doesn't just, generate text. It actively pursues a goal. Askable represents a fundamental shift toward proactive engagement. It operates by ingesting a company's entire digital footprint, the website, the policy documents, complex sizing charts, in literally minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, it utilizes advanced semantic search to completely understand the context of the business.
And the sources highlight a feature here called a value set persona, which seems to be like the bridge between that raw processing power you're talking about and actual customer adoption. Because we aren't just talking about a generic robotic text-to-speech voice anymore.
Far from it.
Right.
The architecture allows the AI to adopt regional accents, cultural nuances, and highly specific behavioral traits that actually match the brand's identity.
Really? Like how specific are we talking?
So depending on the deployment, this agent can sound like a localized Mumbai car with the appropriate regional warmth and pacing, or it could be a highly professional, fast-talking New York financial consultant.
That's wild.
It is, and the psychological friction of talking to a machine drops to near zero when that machine actually observes local cultural etiquette. It bridges the gap between digital scale and human empathy, which honestly is the absolute prerequisite for having an AI handle everything from routine support to highly complex sales negotiations.
So it's effectively taking the empathy, the cultural fluency, and the institutional knowledge of your absolute best employee and just cloning that profile infinitely.
That's a great way to look at it.
So now that we've established the baseline of how an agentic system operates, we really need to look at the immediate financial impact. The sources offer this brilliant contrast in cost-saving strategies between two radically different sectors, banking and e-commerce.
Yeah, let's look at the highly regulated world of banking, financial services, and insurance, or BFSI. In this sector, the primary mandate from the C-suite is immediate, hard ROI through operational cost reduction.
Just stopping the bleeding.
Exactly. We mentioned that EU benchmark earlier, where a single routine customer service interaction can cost up to $4.58. When a retail bank is fielding tens of thousands of calls a day, just asking about, account balances or transaction statuses, that operational drag is just enormous.
And the downstream effect of that, obviously, is degraded service for the people who actually need human help because the queue is just completely clogged up with these simple database lookup requests.
Precisely. Which is where Askable steps in with its compliance-aware natural language understanding, or NLU. This NLU engine doesn't just, transcribe speech to text. It performs real-time semantic analysis to comprehend intent and sentiment.
Wait, sentiment? Like it knows if you're upset.
Yes. If a caller's voice modulates in a way that indicates high-risk sentiment like severe financial distress or anger, the AI recognizes the gravity of that state and can dynamically route the call to a human. But for the standard queries, it safely handles the interaction itself, deflecting 60 to 70% of routine Tier 1 calls.
60 to 70%, that's massive.
It's game-changing. In lending specifically, the data shows it actually cuts manual loan processing times by 70% simply by autonomously chasing down missing information from the applicant.
Okay, I have to push back on the mechanics here for a second, specifically regarding compliance.
Sure.
Because I totally get how an AI can handle an account balance via quick API call. But when we get into something like a complex insurance claim or explaining the nuances of a premium versus a deductible, how does the system legally handle that without hallucinating? I mean, one wrong piece of generated advice and you have a catastrophic compliance nightmare on your hands.
You're totally right, and that is absolutely the most critical hurdle for enterprise adoption. It brings us to the underlying architecture of Askable's Document Champion feature.
Document Champion.
Yeah. The reason it avoids hallucinating legal advice is that it isn't relying on a generalized large language model to just guess the answer. It utilizes a framework known as Retrieval Augmented Generation, or AGI, but with incredibly strict deterministic boundaries.
Meaning it can only pull from the approved sandbox you built for it.
Exactly. It acts as a secure, intelligent layer over your actual approved legal documentation. So when a customer asks a really complex policy question, the AI retrieves the exact legal clause from the ingested policy manual. It then uses its language generation capabilities merely to translate that dense, approved legal jargon into conversational language for the customer.
Oh, I see.
It is mathematically constrained from offering advice that falls outside the semantic boundaries of that approved text.
Wow. So it is essentially speed reading the terms and conditions, synthesizing the relevant clause, and explaining it back to the customer, all while remaining tethered to the approved legal reality.
And doing so in milliseconds.
That's incredible.
Now, if we pivot and look at e-commerce, the strategy fundamentally changes. In banking, the goal is to deflect the call to save overhead, right? But in e-commerce, the interaction is actually an opportunity. It's about mitigating returns and capturing abandoned revenue.
Because in retail, silence usually means they just left your website to go buy from a competitor.
Exactly. Take the classic, "Where's my order?" query, commonly known as Wizmo. Having a human agent look up a tracking number in a logistics portal is a terrible misallocation of human capital. Askable answers those instantly via direct API integration with the shipping provider, saving over $6.60 per interaction compared to utilizing human agents.
Over $6 every time someone asks where their package is.
Yeah. But the application in fast fashion is where the agentic capabilities really shine.
Oh, the sizing issue.
Right.
Which, looking at retail margins, is a massive revenue drain. People order 3 sizes of the exact same garment specifically to use their bedroom as a fitting room, knowing full well they will return 2 of them.
Yeah, it totally destroys profitability due to reverse logistics. So Askable deploys as a 24/7 sizing assistant. A customer can literally use voice to say, "Hey, I'm usually a size 10, but I have wide hips and broad shoulders. How will this specific dress fit me?"
And it actually knows.
It does. The AI parses that natural language to extract physical nuances, cross-references those details with the specific garment's measurement database, and factors in the fabric's stretch and cut. It then delivers a highly tailored recommendation. The data from the sources shows this active intervention directly cuts size-related returns by 10 to 15%.
The back-end processing required to map abstract human descriptions like wide hips to a specific product, skews dimensional data in real time, is just wild.
It's very complex under the hood.
It essentially replicates the experience of having an expert tailor standing right outside the dressing room. And that level of personalized confidence is what prevents the return before the checkout button is even clicked.
Right. And that transition from a passive catalog to an active consultant is what shifts the AI from merely a cost-saving measure to an actual revenue-generating asset.
Which perfectly bridges us to the next massive implication in our sources. Because if this AI possesses the cognitive reasoning to handle complex insurance compliance and the nuance to map physical body types to clothing catalogs, it inherently has the capability to do something much more lucrative, which is actively negotiate and qualify leads.
Exactly. We are moving from the back office to the absolute front lines of customer acquisition.
The best way to visualize this shift, for you listening, is thinking about the front door of a high-end nightclub. Traditional chatbots are basically the bouncer. They just stand there, check your ID, and maybe point you to the bathroom. This agentic AI is the highly skilled VIP host who walks down the line outside, learns everyone's preferences, and actively pre-sells the expensive tables before the doors even open.
I love that. That analogy maps perfectly to the data we have on the real estate sector, which really stands out as the primary winner in automated lead qualification. The sources highlight the luxury real estate market in India, where the cost per lead can actually exceed a massive 5,000 rupees.
That is an incredibly high premium to pay for traffic that might just be window shopping.
Oh, the inefficiency in that market is staggering. Traditionally, you have these really expensive human sales agents spending 20 minutes on the phone with a prospect, only to discover the caller doesn't actually have the budget or the loan pre-approval to buy the property.
Right, a huge waste of time.
Askable automates this entire vetting process via voice. The AI engages the prospect instantly when they show interest. It initiates this very natural conversational flow that qualifies their budget, extracts their specific location preferences, and determines their loan pre-approval status.
So it basically handles that awkward, how much money do you actually have dance, but does it with the localized warmth and pacing we talked about earlier.
Right. Exactly. And it does it at scale simultaneously for thousands of inquiries. By handling 60% of this initial qualification autonomously, it ensures that your human sales agents are only ever handed high-intent, budget-vetted leads. The AI updates the CRM in real time and routes the qualified buyer to the appropriate closer. This entire process reduces the effective cost per lead by up to 30%.
Wow. Because your unit economics change entirely when your human sales team stops acting as data entry clerks and spends 100% of their time closing qualified deals.
Exactly. Now, a secondary industry reaping massive margin recapture through this exact mechanism is travel and tourism. Askable acts as a multilingual booking assistant directly on a hotel's property website. When a user from another country is browsing, asking specific questions about family amenities or transit options in their native language, the AI builds immediate trust and removes the friction of uncertainty.
Which intercepts the user before they get frustrated, leave the direct site, and just book through a major online travel agency.
Yes, and avoiding those OTAs is the entire game in hospitality revenue management. Those third-party platforms charge massive commission fees, often anywhere from 15 to 25% of the booking value.
Oh, wow, that's huge.
Yeah. So by deploying an agentic assistant that qualifies and converts that high-intent traveler directly on the hotel's own digital property, Askable shifts 8 to 12% of bookings away from those high-commission platforms and back into the hotel's highly profitable direct channels.
The margin expansion on an 8 to 12% shift in booking channel mix is massive for a hospitality P&L. So just to summarize where we are, we're looking at an AI that qualifies luxury real estate buyers, recaptures hotel margins, and handles dense insurance claims 24/7. The byproduct of all this operational heavy lifting is that this system is having tens of thousands of conversations every single day.
Right. It is continuously interacting with the entirety of your active customer base.
Which means it's essentially running the largest, most accurate 24/7 focus group in the history of the company.
Absolutely.
But how does a CEO or a chief marketing officer actually utilize that? I mean, if you have a dashboard full of 100,000 raw voice transcripts, how do you translate that mountain of unstructured data into a concrete, long-term business growth strategy?
That is the multi-million-dollar question for the C-suite, right? And the solution lies in Askable's detailed analytics dashboard. We have to look at how executives traditionally make decisions. They rely on web analytics heat maps, click tracking, exit rates. They can see exactly where a customer abandoned a cart or closed the tab, but they're left completely blind as to the why.
Right. The data just shows a red dot on the checkout page, and the executive team just has to sit in a boardroom and try to guess what scared the customer away.
Askable completely replaces that outdated probabilistic model by applying semantic clustering to the actual conversations. Because the AI is actively talking to the customers, it creates a live, continuous feedback loop. The NLP algorithms cluster similar intents and anxieties, so a CEO doesn't have to read transcripts. They just look at a heat map of customer friction.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Let's look at the travel sector again. An executive can look at the dashboard and see a massive cluster of travelers dropping off at the final booking page. But instead of guessing, the dashboard reveals that hundreds of users are asking the AI highly specific questions about visa requirements right before abandoning the session.
So the hidden friction had literally nothing to do with the price of the room. It was the anxiety of international travel logistics.
Precisely.
And once the executive knows that, they can instantly update the AI's knowledge base or just redesign the checkout flow to prominently feature visa guidance.
It completely removes the guesswork from conversion rate optimization. In e-commerce, if the semantic analysis shows a recurring spike in users asking for clarification on return shipping policies, the executive knows exactly which paragraph on their website is poorly written and causing hesitation. Your customers are explicitly telling your AI what is broken in your sales funnel.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You aren't A/B testing blindly anymore. You are reacting to explicit, aggregated customer demands.
And the technology goes beyond just fixing what is broken. The advanced NLU actually detects frustration, sentiment, and hesitation in the user's voice. This allows executives to identify predictive patterns for revenue expansion.
Like upselling.
Exactly. If the AI senses a returning customer is getting bogged down trying to find a compatible accessory for a previous purchase, it's programmed to proactively intervene and offer a tailored package or a cross-sell based on the context of the struggle. The sources indicate this kind of intelligent, context-aware upselling increases average order value by 15 to 20% for returning customers.
It is identifying a moment of high friction, resolving the anxiety, and then leveraging the resulting goodwill to expand the cart size. That is incredibly sophisticated behavioral economics, just automated at scale.
It really is.
So, to bring all of these different industry applications together for you listening, we need to talk about the ultimate bottom line. Because a chief financial officer does not authorize a major enterprise deployment just because the AI has neat semantic clustering. They authorize a capital expenditure based on a financial projection.
Yeah.
So distilling everything we've covered, what is the ultimate 3-year ROI summary for a C-suite decision maker?
Synthesizing the core data points across all the sources, the mandate for the C-suite is very clear. The deployment of agentic voice AI fundamentally transforms a high-cost service center into a profitable engagement channel. Over a 3-year projection, decision makers in high-cost service sectors can model for 4 very specific outcomes.
Okay, let's lay out the metrics.
First, a 60% reduction in overall support tickets, which is paired directly with a 40 to 60% drop in the cost per interaction due to that massive deflection of Tier 1 volume we talked about. Second, a 90% faster response time. And it is vital to understand that this speed isn't just a basic customer satisfaction metric. It acts as a defensive, competitive moat.
Because if a customer gets an instant, accurate answer from your brand, they never bother opening a new tab to Google your competitor.
Exactly. Third, executives can expect a 40% increase in customer engagement time on site. Users spend more time interacting with the brand because they're actually having a meaningful, fluid conversation rather than just hunting through nested menus.
Right, it's engaging.
And finally, a 25% higher overall conversion rate. This metric is especially critical in sectors like high-value consumer electronics, where offering 24/7 expert technical guidance is the definitive difference between a browsing visitor and a confident buyer.
The crucial takeaway for you, if you're looking at your own organizational structure, is that this ROI projection proves Askable isn't just another IT software expense. It is a strategic reallocation of your human capital. By utilizing an agentic system to absorb the crushing high-volume traffic like the password resets, the shipping updates, the initial budget qualifications, you are basically alleviating your human workforce.
You are freeing them from the administrative drag that destroys their productivity.
Right. Your human employees can now focus entirely on high-value sales, complex empathy-driven problem solving, and long-term relationship management. The sources specifically note that in wealth management, relationship managers actually gain 10 to 15% more capacity. They stop answering basic administrative questions and dedicate that recovered time to driving actual portfolio revenue. They act as strategic advisors, which is exactly what you're paying them for.
It is a comprehensive shift in how an enterprise interacts with the public, elevating both the customer experience and the internal leverage of the workforce.
Man, what a deep dive. Let's quickly recap the ground we've covered. We started by exploring how agentic voice AI utilizes compliance-aware guardrails and RA architecture to basically slash operational costs in banking, while simultaneously using complex variable mapping to mitigate size-related returns in e-commerce.
We then explored how it aggressively drops customer acquisition costs in real estate and travel through automated, voice-driven lead qualification.
And finally, we unpacked how C-suite executives utilize semantic clustering from those millions of conversations to pinpoint hidden friction in their growth funnels and strategically reallocate their human capital.
It's a phenomenal operational leap. But before we wrap up today, there is a macroeconomic and psychological implication here that the business metrics don't explicitly address, and I think it is really worth pondering.
We always have to look at the unintended consequences. What are we missing here?
So we have established that this agentic AI can negotiate, it can qualify leads, and it can perfectly mimic the cultural nuance and pacing of a local human expert through those value set personas. It is explicitly designed to build immense trust and drive conversions.
Right.
But if AI becomes utterly indistinguishable from a trusted, empathetic, local human expert, how will that change our fundamental psychology of trust?
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, in a few years, will we actually start to prefer the infinite patience and precision of a machine over a human being when making our absolute biggest financial decisions?
Wow. If a machine never gets annoyed by our questions and always knows the exact legal clause, yeah, why wouldn't we prefer it?
Exactly. It's a fascinating shift in human behavior to watch out for.
That is a profound question to leave off on. Figuring out how our trust fundamentally shifts toward algorithms is going to be wild. Thank you all for joining us for another deep dive. Stay curious, take a close look at the unit economics in your own industry, and we'll catch you next time.